Marvel Rivals, the hero shooter that took the gaming world by storm, has recently faced a wave of controversy. Despite its massive success, NetEase Games have laid off its US-based development team, leaving fans and players shocked and confused. I'm talking gaining over 10 million players within its first 3 days. The saying used to be, if your game was trash, we might get fired. Today in 2025, it doesn't matter if you have a hit game or a trash game, you might be hit with layoffs. Before we break down another set of layoffs in the gaming industry. First it was X-Defiant, the Call of Duty killer. Now it's Marvel Rivals. I want to know you guys' opinion, because every time that this happens, it makes me think, like, do you really want to get into the industry? Like, all of us that have that dream, that passion, like, man, I want to work in games one day. Like, we need to ask ourselves, do we really want to? And this is the part about the gaming industry that sucks, because when you really think about it, you start to think, like, how did we get here? The game started off with such a huge success, millions of players. I'm talking a massive hit. You would think that this would not happen. Well, this news broke on LinkedIn. Thad Sasser created a LinkedIn post where he revealed that his entire team was laid off despite helping deliver the massive hit Marvel Rivals. Now, Thad Sasser is, well, he was the game director at Marvel Rivals. Now, I'm not trying to be funny when I said the word was. We don't know how many people are affected by this, how many people got laid off. It's being reported that the whole Seattle team got laid off. Apparently the Seattle team was just like the dev support team, and there was only about like 12 to 13 of them. I'm not someone that's saying like, oh, that's only just a little bit of people, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that's 12 to 13 people that now have to go out there into the workforce and try to find a new gig, have to try to find a new job. And on top of that, they kind of have to like have that conversation with themselves. It's a very weird time right now with like jobs in general, have internal conversations where it's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back into a game dev job. And for some people, that's super important. So I just want to state that I feel for these people. Being unemployed when I was unemployed wasn't fun, and I know now is definitely not fun. To try to get back in there, get your foot back into the door is extremely hard. These jobs talk about being proactive and being the best employee, but they'll ghost us so quick. And it's been something that's been going on with me. I've had this happen multiple times in my current job search, trying to get into the gaming industry. Being ghosted is just something that happens as a job seeker. But as I said before, Thad released this information on LinkedIn, and a lot of people was surprised. Like I said, people could not believe it. The gaming industry was just blown away. This is a massive hit, and they had to do a round of layoffs. And on top of that, at first NetEase wasn't really trying to respond, and then finally they did respond. They pretty much denied every single report and just tried to say that they are not scaling back overseas operations, that they're still actively working and supporting their global studios. And that's just not true, because if you look at the reality and look at the proof, their US team, their current US team is gone, and all development is now being fully handed in China for Marvel Rivals. It just seems like they're slowly but surely getting their hands out of overseas studios so that it's all in-house. Now that the game is done, they see that it is a huge, massive hit. If you're comparing salaries, US game dev salaries compared to the salaries that they're paying in China, our salaries are super high. It just sucks that our industry keeps getting hit with this. We get hit with layoffs left and right. Normally it's because we're throwing spitballs at a game. You know, it's a game infested with hackers. It's a dev team that doesn't listen, and they just ruin the game because of microtransactions and things of that nature. So like, we just let the game die. We let it die and we laugh at it. But in this case, it's like the game's doing great. It's doing phenomenal, and you still had to go ahead and do it. So that one for me is something that's really crazy. It really does make you think twice when you talk about trying to get a game dev job. One thing I'll say is like, you definitely want to pick the right studio, and that's hard to do because like, how do you know what studio is right? But you definitely need to do your research. Now, before I end today's video, I want to make sure that I report this story correctly, because at the time of making this video, a lot of people didn't know how many people on the Seattle team actually got fired, and it seems like it's being reported that it's just 6 people on this R&D studio from Seattle. R&D in the game development space is just research and development. There's a lot of speculation. We obviously don't really know what's going on. The headlines that came out, they really made it seem like a full studio of like 100+ workers, 100+ devs and designers got fired, which wasn't the case. At the end of the day, 6 people were laid off. There's a lot of speculation, people saying, well, it's not that big of a deal, it wasn't the main China team. At the end of the day, people lost their jobs. jobs. We shouldn't be throwing this. It doesn't matter. Did they really like, how much did they work on the game? Were they a big part of it? At the end of the day, 6 people lost their jobs and they now have to try to find new employment. So it does matter. Like I said earlier, the way how the headlines was coming out, they made it seem like it was a full studio of people getting fired, and that just wasn't the case. And if anything else comes up with this Marvel Rivals story, if anything else starts to unravel, I'll make sure to drop another video for you guys. But as of right now, it seems like this is all we got. It seems like the 6 people on that Seattle development team are all trying to look for employment, and that's as far as we're getting into the story. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.